Hey, welcome everybody to the channel here today with another match in Heroes of the Storm. The ZOTAC Cup monthly final took place just 2 days ago, and actually we have our first semi-final here today. A best of 3 series between Bob and Gamers2. And game number 1 is of course here on Dragonshire. Especially Bob, they have been playing a lot of tournaments, they've been winning a lot actually. They've been playing at the end of the Storm qualifier, won I think several of them. I think in total they were 3 times in the finals or even 4 times. And they've done a really good job in all of those weekly tournaments that they participated so far. Now they have to go up in the monthly final against Gamers2, a really strong Polish team, and they really love to play the Azmodan. It's actually one of the first teams that played with Azmodan on the European server, and they use him not only on Tomb of the Spider Queen, but in this case now also on Dragonshire. They have together with him a Leoric, which is amazing to help him just like get that stacking process started. There's a Vala in the backline who can help out with it as well, and they also have an Anubarak that can of course always make sure that with the Web Blast or with the Locust Swarm he's either really tanky at the front line or can help them to isolate a target. So it's one of those things where Gamers2 really tries to go into the late game. And on the other hand, we have Bob, who are currently trying to run this with Johanna. They have a Zagara, and Zagara is actually getting really popular again. She is currently one of the best solo laners that we have in the game, can of course push an opponent in as well. And we have Bob also with a bit of a late game strategy. They are saying, hey, we're going to play Khaldor here, and once he hits level 16, we can really dish out so much damage that we can kind of start to rival Azmodan a little bit. And one of the cool things that they have in their setup is Ethereal, so we might see Sanctification again to just mitigate some of the damage that Azmodan can throw out there. But guys, without further ado, game number 1, Dragonshire at the ZOTAC Cup semi-final between Bob and Gamers2. Semi-final number 2 has started. Gamers2 is going up against Bob. And to the left side of the map we have Nika on Vala. Gamers2 with Shiku on Leoric, Barshik on Azmodan, here on Tomb of the Spider Queen. Actually, it's Dragonshire. What happened there? Azmodan on another map. But yeah, he's being played in the game. We have Yuva on Anubarak and Leo on Uther. Bob on the other hand, they are playing Bakery on Rhaegar, Snitch on Kelthas, Athero Angel on Tyrael, ADRD on Zagara, and Zarmany on Johanna. So a pretty cool setup that we're seeing, especially on the side of Gamers2. I mean, I love Azmodan compositions. I'm pretty sure you picked up on that already. But we have a very solid lineup for them in general. I actually like what Nika is doing with that auto attack build, starting with the Rancor. We're going to talk about the composition in a bit, and in the mid lane there's already a lot of trouble brewing, but it looks like nobody really wants to commit to anything. So let me quickly talk about the composition that we are seeing for Gamers2. First of all, they have Leoric to help Azmodan with the stacking process, and he is going to have to help him a lot here. Everybody is still brawling, nobody is moving on other lanes. Well, finally we have Kelthas and Rhaegar starting to do that, but yeah, Azmodan is helped out by Athero Angel, sorry, not of course by Athero, but Shiku, and they're trying to get their stacks together. The Vala as a pick was something where I wasn't 100% certain if I really like it or not. They could have gone into the Kelthas instead, which was later on picked by Bob. And the risk is of course that in the early game you don't get enough damage in, so that you don't have enough on the map to really like fight against the Dragon Knights, to delay them, and that you die too early. But you have very good damage to follow up the Globe of Annihilation from Azmodan. With Vala, the issue that you have there is that it's going to be very tricky for her to just go past Johanna and Tyrael in the fights then, or after a Globe, and put in the follow-up damage to really drop a target. And that's an issue that we've seen between Team Liquid and Na'Vi at WCA at Gamescom recently, so that's definitely a bit of a problem. Nika chose to go into an auto attack build, so it's more single target damage, and I feel that really helps. You already hope that Azmodan is dropping everybody low, and then you just use Vala to eliminate that one target, but it's not going to be easy for them, as already mentioned, since they have to always make sure that they are in a spot where they can use, or where they can move Vala in without her going too deep. But ADRD already picks the Dragon Knight, and that is of course going to be also a bit tricky. Don't get, by the way, don't get annoyed or anything, like irritated by that Gamers2 attack. He was part of Gamers2 in the past, but Barshik replaced him, so it's maybe a bit of a grudge match for him here as well. They get the early Dragon Knight, and I mean that's what is to be expected, right? If you have an Azmodan in the early game, you usually can't really do too much when it comes to fighting, and you expect to lose a Dragon Knight or two. You just try to delay them, and they probably didn't expect to lose him this early. So Bob with a very solid opening here for themselves. They have also now the Shadow Wolf taken. The talent is... oh, Shiku! Wow, that was a close call. Leo just barely getting the heal in there. ADRD is still in play. We have Fealty onto Death, and more lane sustain also for Vala, who's in trouble at the bot lane, going for the Vampiric Assault. There's a lot happening on the map right now. We need to talk about all these things, and we will. Shadow Wolf taken. Normally when Spirit Walker's Grace is the level 1 talent for Rhaegar, but to be honest with you, these days Shadow Wolf kind of starts to disappear again. It was a talent that was taken for maybe like 2 weeks, and now it's starting to disappear again. Some people still take it, and it's still a valid talent, especially if you go for the mana reduction, then you are not necessarily in a position where you need Feral Heart to have the lane sustain. But it's more common now that even if you go on level 1 for the mana reduction on your heal, that you will still see Feral Heart as the level 4 talent. And especially with Colossal Totem, which a lot of people take, it's basically always a Feral Heart, because if not, then you run out of mana way too fast and you don't have a chance there. So the talent that we also need to talk about is of course the Vampiric Assault on Nika. If you go for an auto attack damage build, then basically the question is just like, how much damage do you really need? Do you need to go into the Manticore on level 4? In this case, they just said no. They need, of course, some people to babysit Asmodan in the early stages of the game, and that's why we have now Vala on a solo lane, and she's saying, hey, I need a bit more lane sustain, I need that extra heal, so that I can stay on lane and don't have to yell for Uther all the time. So that helps her in the early game, and then also in the late game, when she might even go for Nexus Frenzy, even though, of course, on Vala it's a bit more common to go straight into something like a Bolt of the Storm. But we could still see on level 13 the Giant Killer. There's again good stacks. Nika, oh yeah, just barely gets away there. And Bashik helps out a bit by taking down the Hydra. Of course, we need to talk about Asmodan here quite a bit, since he's going to be the hero that a lot of Gamers2 success in this game will hinge upon. 38 damage stacks so far, so nothing really all too fancy yet. We're going to keep tabs on that in the later stages of the game. Now with level 7 for both of them, the Searing attacks for Vala for the extra damage with the auto attack. I mean, that was to be expected after Rancor. We have, by the way, for Asmodan, in this case, also now the Infernal Globe taken, and even more stacks. So it's gonna get a bit easier for him to really keep the stacking process up. And at the bot lane, they try to go for at least one temple or one shrine, and it's a 4 versus 4 lane on the other hand. Up at the top, currently, Juve going up against Snitch. Nice damage. Snitch is playing a very solid Kel'Thas here. Bob, of course, very successful in the past few weeks. And over here, this time it is actually, again, Bob that has control over that Dragon Knight. Shiku is not gonna come into play, but at the top lane, Anuburak moved in, and Snitch was just a bit too low. He couldn't really deal with this, couldn't do anything here. He is currently on Gathering Power, so he's gonna try to get the stacks, but all the time, Asmodan just hitting those globes. And Gamers2 actually was one of the teams that first started to play Asmodan. And a lot of people actually think that it was a hero that popped up on the North American server, but that's actually not true. It was Gamers2 who put that hero into play like ages ago. That was even in the beta days when they started to play him on, well, Blackheart's Bay, Dragonshire, a lot of the maps. They were the first to really pick up on Asmodan, and even after then Blizzard said, alright, we have to put a cap in, and put that cap in at 500. They were some of the few that realized immediately, well, 500, that's still solid damage, and because back then, when it happened and Blizzard initially put that cap in, a lot of people said like, Asmodan is not viable anymore. Which was of course utter crap, and Gamers2 and other teams proved that very soon afterwards. So that was a very big misconception by a lot of people. 500 stacks, believe me, that's a lot of damage. Once again, Dragon Knight taken, and again for Bob. So we have a level 10 abilities, and that allowed them to take him quite easily, as we already expected during the draft. Sanctification has now been chosen. That was a nice move. ADRD was actually trying to kick Leoric into the towers here, but with the Wraith Walk he got away. So in case that you didn't know, a Wraith Walked Leoric cannot get kicked away at all. You can just deliver damage, and that's it. They cannot really move the character. So now we have Sanctification, and I mentioned this earlier, Sanctification is going to be great for them later on in the fights to negate damage from an incoming Globe of Annihilation, for example. And especially if that bad boy is at 500 stacks, then it's going to help you out a lot. Like a lot. We are also seeing now Web Blast taken. That's going to be a great talent to eliminate the healer from the game, or initiate. And up at the top lane, it looks like they are going to use it to try and drop a target. Leo comes in from behind. He needs to get that stun in, but Kel'Thas moves away. But the Burrow Charge, Juve is trying to lock Kel'Thas down. What a great heal. Great heal by Bakery here. Really well played. They're keeping them alive, and now they're starting to push Gamers2 back again. The March of the Black King has been in play by Leoric. He used it already in the fight too. We're seeing them with the Divine Shield, and they also run a Rain of Vengeance on Vala. By the way, it's very, very common to run Rain of Vengeance if you go for Rancor. The reason is simple. With Rancor, you're trying to get Hatred stacks. And if you add max Hatred stacks, you can dish out the most amount of damage, which is pretty obvious. The problem that you have with Strafe is that if you go through the entire Strafe duration, all of your Hatred stacks just drop, so you are at 0 again and need to start anew. And that is really, really annoying. So most players that go into an auto-attack build will always use the Rain of Vengeance, because it's one of those drop-and-forget heroic abilities, and you get the lockdown as well. So that's one of the reasons why for auto-attack Valas you usually don't see Strafe. Oh, we see a great move though by Vala in this case. The problem still is... oh my god, poor Nika. I mean, he nearly dropped 80 RD. It was just like one hit that was missing, but it was just not enough, and then there's a quick rotation coming over, and with 4 heroes, Vala can't do anything anymore and goes down. Oh, Globes in the mid lane now, and level 13 a bit faster for Bob, so they're still dominating the map. We have them with only 1 kill, but still, there was a kill against Vala, by the way, but the objectives, that's where they really excel right now. That's also level 13, our Flamethrower, Healing Surge, and the kill against Leoric. This time they get Shihu, and that's the second kill for them in the game. So a lot of damage, a lot of pressure. Of course, as we already expected here in the game, we have by now 188 stacks on Asmodan, so a lot of damage on level 9. He's gonna hit roughly 200, maybe a bit more than that, when he's on... when we are seeing level 10 minutes in play. But still, Juve and Shihu, they can also push back quite a bit. They have a lot of siege damage between themselves, because, well, Adiadi is of course trying to make sure that the top lane at least is not suffering too much damage against this. But still, pretty cool game so far, actually. Like, maybe not the most kills, not the most team fights, but I'm really enjoying what we're seeing here, because from a strategic point of view, it's pretty awesome. Especially, oh, the lockdown against Leoric again. And I mean, Leoric, by the way, in this game did not go for that lingering apparition style with the heart and bones on level 4, which we see Navi play on Dragonshire. So it's just amazing to see that this kit is being used in so many variations. We're having now Juve, Barshek, Nika and Leo in the mid lane trying to deny Dragon Knight number 3, but it looks like Bob is gonna pick it up once again. Snitch is there, but Shihu is in the back lane. Rain of Vengeance already dropped, but didn't really do any damage. They're going for Shihu again, trying to block him. Decent globe, but not good enough, and Shihu gets healed. Oh, Uther is there, but the Dragon Knight once more, and even with a level 13, oh my god, look at that. A triple spell shield, and also the Chitinous plating. So besides the March of Sin, all of them are really afraid of Khaldor, and just saying like, yeah, that bad boy in level 16, which they're gonna hit really soon, we don't want to deal with that. And they go again for the damage, thanks to the globe. Barshek actually doing that really well. Like, he hits the wave and the heroes. That's of course one way that you can use Asmodan without losing too many stacks. Top lane pressure. And with that, we are seeing now actually the fort is defended by Nika, who moved in against Zarmany, but that Dragon Knight is still pushing in. 11 minutes into game, the Dragon Knight is not really too strong yet, but it's still solid. If you have a wave pushing in that soaks some of the fort ammunition and the fort shots so that you don't get slowed down, then it's great, and that's also what the Zagara's Roach is coming to play. Up, there's another quick hit. Snitch is getting really low here on the Dragon Knight though, but he can still punt somebody away. Goodbye Vala. But yeah, the only thing that they basically use right now is that Breath of Fire. And they got the 4 really low. Zarmany was busy at the top lane. They created some space for him, and there's the level 16 talent. That's very important. That's where a ton of damage comes in. I mean, it's not only that Mutalisk that we see on the side of Zagara, it's the double Hunter Killer that's now there. And we have also Ignite, plus on top of that, Tidal Waves for the continuous heal on Rhaegar. So really strong helms for them here, and they are going to try to use those, even with an additional imposing presence on Johanna, who didn't go into the Blessed Hammer, which would have been an option if they thought that they really need more damage, which of course is not the case. So they start to move in with the Phoenix. The fort is about to explode. Goodbye. Oh, and Nika too, but the heal is there. Was a close call though. Nika is really low. Very close call. Asmodan, by now, we have him on 280 stacks, now 12 minutes into the game. Level 16 is, of course, a problem for them. And Bob is really playing a solid game. As mentioned before, this is just one of these one of these sustained games where you don't have a lot of big team fights, but it's a very solid game that is played by Bob right now. Very strategic, making sure that they always spread their heroes out. Just look at the minimap at this point. You can really tell that they are going for lanes together. They are having two heroes rotate to the bot lane. They take a wave, but immediately once that the waves clash in the middle, we're seeing Rhaegar moving over there, catching the experience. At the same time, there's a camp taken. So it's all about the heartbeat on the lane, getting that experience lead or just maintaining it. Having a look what's happening over there. Is there maybe an attempt to take the siege giants that they can interrupt? So when it comes to map control, Bob is doing a very decent job here. But Gamers2, they are trying to push the top lane now with 2 heroes already, and they are close to level 16. Down here it's the siege giant camp that's probably going to be taken away from them. And level 16 is now ready, and that is where finally Gamers2 might be able to make a move now as well. The camp is still in the hands. Oh, the Maw. Can they follow that up? There's the Flames. Oh my god. Flame Strike was actually decent, but the Gravity Lapse is not hitting. He doesn't have Netherwind, so Snitch needs to time that perfectly, and that's actually not easy at all. If you have Netherwind, then it's so much easier to get that one in. Consume Vitality has been used now, and we have a triple blood for blood on the side of Gamers2. Seeing something like that, you actually are a little bit reminded of the old days when we had like that big burst from blood for blood, and when teams like Virtus Pro, back then still Arthur Stroidram, was just going straight for quad blood for blood comms and bursting everybody down in their fights. Good old times. That was definitely, it was a lot of fun. Got cheesy at some point, but it was also a bit of fun. I kind of enjoyed that, especially at the beginning. But now, of course, that's not the case. It's more about the self-sustain than anything else. We could have actually seen Nika go into the stone skin. And I'm actually not kidding. Like, it's the pre-damage that you have there. So you can actually, wait a second, Juve and Nika are moving back now. There's of course a lot of poke with Khaldor right now. But yeah, pre-damage prevention that you have when you go for the stone skin. You just make sure that you have that shield up before the living bomb damage hits you when the Khaldor is going in. Another potential Dragonite. They should get this one, and yes, they will. Dragonite taken by Snitch again. That's the 4th Dragonite that they have. 4 Dragonites already for Bob, and they push back up at the top as well. So Bashek is getting more damage in, but in this case actually he's not really hitting anything here. They're gonna get that fort. They're definitely gonna get it. And Dragonite moving down to the bot lane is probably gonna mean that they lose 2 here. Top lane pressure still. Good hits here by Bashek, and he does more than 1,000 damage already with his globe. But down there we have Snitch taking down fort number 1. They could even move towards that wall now. Good punt also against Vala, and we're seeing 20s coming into reach for Bob. So very solid performance by them here so far. Mid lane, even more experience soaked. This is one of the things that Bob does really well. Map control, soaking experience, being in a position where they can do that. To give you a bit of an idea, I mean, you can see that basically every single one of their heroes soaked more experience than we've seen soaked by their Gamers2 Pendant. And that's why, because they just always stay on lanes, they spread out. Nice holy ground usage here by Tyrael, and they get the kill against Leoric. He was moved back by that. It's basically the poor man's cast aside, if you remember the old school talent for Tyrael that we had on his smite, where he could use that in level 13 to just like put opponents to the side a little bit when you cast it on the ground. Doesn't really work. Blizzard removed it at some point. It was a bit too strong, but Holy Ground works in a similar fashion, I want to say. Nika currently eating still a lot of damage there, and level 20 talents are now ready, and that means a double Bolt of the Storm, which is going to give Khaldor and Zagara a lot of, well, an additional escape, and therefore sustain. Not that they need it. I mean, at this point they weren't even threatened. But we're also seeing a hardened shield on Tyrael and indestructible taken here by Johanna. So they are going to have a much easier time in those fights from here on out. Level 20 isn't ready yet for Gamers2, but what is definitely ready is the damage on good old Asmodan. Asmodan is by now on 370 stacks, so he's still going to need a few, but this is really starting to do damage. He's doing more than 1,000 damage now with the Black Pool Globe, and that's solid. That's quite solid here. Top lane, that's where we're seeing a split push from Juve, not only to take down the wall, but he wants experience, and they need it badly, because the bot lane is being pressured now by 3 camps. There's the 3rd one that they currently take. This is an amazing push, as like Anupurak has to move his ass down to the bot lane, and he has to do it fast, and there it is, because this is insane pressure. 4 siege giants, and also what? Oh my god, Asmodan. Dunk Modan with another big hit, but the backline is still doing damage, and those Siege Giants, they are not kidding around. The level 20 talent is there. Here comes another hit. Azmodan with everything that he can offer in those fights. And Tyrael, Sanctification, they stun him out, but he already made sure that he negated a lot of damage, and in comes the kill against the Nubarak. Great more setup that we saw, another big globe, and Zarmany in trouble, but he gets away, gets even shielded here by Tyrael before the shit hits the fan. Very well played, but as it happens, it is still alive. The keep, of course, that is. That's a pretty decent hit that we see from Azmodan again, and Gamers2, solid. They lost the Nubarak, yeah, of course, but still, with that big of a push, that was a good defense. A really good defense. Making sure that they took down the camps first and then focusing on the heroes, losing only one of their own in the process. And nearly taking down Johanna too. Very well played here. Problematic is that there's a 5th Dragon Knight now for Bob, and that's 18 minutes in. So this bad boy is really starting to do some solid damage. We're not quite at 1,000 damage per hit yet, but we are getting very close. Nexus Frenzy, I like it. No Bolt of the Storm here for Vala. Full on damage, so she really wants to put in the numbers now. Double hardened shield, and we're seeing also a storm shield taken. But the bot lane, that's what they're trying to push here. Redemption's gonna be taken on Uther once that he dies. Azmodan with the zoning, globe after globe, but of course the keep is gone. With the Dragon Knight and the Kel'Thas, hell yeah, you're gonna take that down. Azmodan has to be careful here, but he can start with another globe, and he's already gonna go for it, isn't he? Yes, there it is, and oh, 4-man hit, well played. Oh, going deep! Oh, Uther is gonna take redemption here. Nika got a divine shield, went for the Rain of Vengeance. They're punting Bashik away again. He's trying to drop Snitch. Snitch is in a lot of trouble. He's in a lost situation, just barely skirting the edges of those two towers. And Bashik, he wants him. Oh, is there? Yes! Oh, get wrecked, Kel'Thas. Snitch is down. Uther is still there, and they're jumping in against Zagara. ADRD is now dead as well, and suddenly Gamers2, they have momentum and they use it. Bakery rushing away, gets laser to the face. All shall burn being used. Leo! Oh, yes, but it is again the wolf form that saves him. And the Ethereal Angel with the Holy Ground and everything else that his kid has to offer is escaping in the last seconds. That was really well done here. So once again, I mean, from both sides. First of all, like, we had Tyrael with a great escape and also Rhaegar, but the way that we saw Gamers2 chasing them down one by one, that was pretty cool to watch. They suddenly gained the momentum and they are starting to use it here. So once again, we have 450 stacks currently on Azmodan, so he's really close to the max, to the cap, and 1 keep is all that they lost thus far. 5 Dragon Knights against them. 5 Dragon Knights, and they still only lost 1 keep. There is a Web Blast used already. They go for the keep, and it is going to go down, and they're stunned against Tyrael. In the back line, it is Johanna, and once again, they move away. Here comes the jump forward though. Azmodan with a good hit, and Zarmany with a condemn. We see Snitch moving in. He's back to business, and he wants to repay them in kind. Phoenix and Flame Strike working hand in hand here. They try to drop another hero here. A bit of a defensive Rain of Vengeance that we have. And again, the Flame Strike against the Globe of Annihilation. Oh, the Divine Shield on Leoric. Can he get away? Does he have a Wraith Walk? No, he does not. So Leoric is dead. Again, 6 kills against 2. Now all of a sudden this game is really picking up, isn't it? ADRD is moving in up at the top with the rest of the team. They want to go for the mid lane maybe. They're taking the camp first though. And over to the left side, that's where we're seeing everybody well up on the side of Gamers2. It's a bit of a grudge match here. ADRD was formerly playing for the team, and he of course wants to win here. It's only the first map of the best of 3 series, so even if they lose, they will still have a chance to turn things around. But now we're 21 minutes into the game with level 22 versus 22. To give you a bit of an idea of the numbers that we are currently talking, we have 177,000, 180,000 siege damage now on the side of Azmodan with 71,000 hero damage. Zagara is at this time at 75,000, and we are also seeing a very cool amount on the side of Kel'Thas, who's currently at 68. So yeah, once more, Dragon Knight is on the map, and that means that we could see Gamers2 potentially with their first Dragon Knight in the game. And of course, as the objective scales over time, this Dragon Knight is going to be the most powerful of them all. Right now we have, it's a little bit like Dragon Ball. The farther you go into the series, the more powerful the opponents get, and that's very much what happens with the Dragon Knight here too. So yeah, Goku has to be careful. Aethero Angel is, yeah, they're basically scouting. They're just like getting a few abilities into the bushes, trying to scout out if somebody's over there, trying to wait for them and set a trap. But that's not the case. Over here we have Juve, Nika and Shichu in position, moving back here once more. Aethero Angel, actually the frontliner for them. They don't have a judgment that they can initiate with, but with that sanctification they can negate a lot of the damage. Vala eating that damage thanks to the flame strike, and everybody is focusing on the bot lane. By now, of course, Asmodan is on his 500 stacks. He is currently at 500, fully stacked Asmodan, and he wants to go for the globe, and there it is. Hits it and hits it hard. Bakery and Snitch affected, but Bakery is healing everything out that he can. Shichu at the front line, again, needs to be careful here, but he has Consume Vitality that helps him to keep his hit points up, and Uther is, of course, always there for him. Another hit, another 2 heroes that Asmodan was able to attack with this one, and Aethero Angel is dropping the hit points on Tyrael. So they start to try, both of them fighting for that shrine. This is the shrine, like if Gamers2 or if Bob wins the shrine here, they can take a 6th Dragonite, and that would be a Dragonite that can potentially take the core. With one keep down, Bob could move into the bot lane and try go for core if they drop 1 or 2 heroes here. Once again, everybody assembling at the bot lane. They're really trying to go for it. Asmodan is as far away from them as he can. He's just trying to use the full range on his globe, and we're going to see that used in a second. Shichu moves in here too. Zarmony, and the hit against ADRD. The heal of Bakery is immediately following this up though, and we have the Phoenix for the zoning. Phoenix with a 40-second cooldown. You just throw that out whenever you can. You throw that out like candy. You don't care. Once again, the hit comes in, and here comes Asmodan moving even forward. Can he try and go for another one? Juve with the initiation, and there comes on the other hand the blast shield. They're going in against Juve, but he gets away. He has that spell shield, negating a lot of the damage, as you could just see. Very important against the flame strike. It really helps them and makes it a bit more difficult for Snitch to get the damage in. He's also in a great position here, by the way. For positioning-wise, Asmodan and Snitch are doing a great job making sure that they stay as far behind as they can. Snitch is nearly dying though. Vala was trying to flank, and of course Kel'Thas has to be careful of the globe now, but the globe isn't hitting. The globe isn't hitting. Nika is low, has that spell shield up, dodges by accident that holy light wave that we just saw there by Uther. Uther, oh, everybody low. Gamers2 really low in this case, and Uther is having a hard time healing this out. Snitch dodging the globe, making a very good move there, and Shichu is now in trouble. Shichu, gravity lapse without another win, not hitting. Snitch a bit too late on this one, but he can drop Shichu now, and there it is, the kill against Leoric. And even with that hit of Asmodan, it looks like they're going to get another Dragonite. They can maybe deny it in the mid lane. Dragonite number 6. No! Vala is at the top lane. They rotated Nika to the top to steal the shrine away. But Leoric is, of course, soon going to be back again, thanks to the Drain Hope that he is using here. Well, there he is. Alright, so it's a 5 versus 5 again. A kill in vain, basically. But now it is time for Zarmony to wonder if he's going to... Oh my god, Zarmony. Oh, Indestructible is gonna proc. Bakery is healing him out. Flame Strike against Juve. So much damage against the Nubarak. Oh, can they kill him? And Nubarak is getting Divine Shielded, but Johanna is still alive. The unkillable. Well, actually, she could be killed by Nika. Yeah, Nika wants it. He wants it. Oh, but he eats the damage. So again, Johanna getting away here, using the laws of hope now, of course, too. This is a crazy fight. This has been going on for minutes now. And they move in again. Uther is dead. He has redemption, but he cannot make anything happen for Shichu. Leoric is down once more. Now they have basically a double kill. Well, not quite, because Uther, of course, is going to be back in a second. But they could get a Dragonite. At the top lane, the fort eliminated by the creep wave. They are moving in the middle once again. There's the zoning attempt and sanctification. Nice. We've seen Divine Shield Dragonites, but this is a sanctification Dragonite that we just saw, and the reckoning against a Nubarak. So they go bot lane. They want the game now. We are 26 minutes in, and they are saying this Dragonite is strong enough. With 2 heroes, or at least with a Nubarak out, we can make that work. Nika, what are you doing, buddy? Oh my god, Vala is dead at the worst time in the game. He was trying to drop Zagara, not successfully, I might add. 1,240 damage on every single hit, and now with the Phoenix, this is gonna be game. Very well played here by Bob. A cool game here, nearly half an hour on Dragonshire. Sanctification used again at the end of the match, and this is GG. Bob takes game number 1 against Gamers2.
Bob takes game number 1, Dragonshire. They take Dragonshire and they control the map from start to finish. A problem that you have with Azmodan is of course that in the early game you are rather weak, and that also happened here for Gamers2. Bob took in total I think 5 or 6 Dragon Knights, always pushed through. There was a moment where it looked like Gamers2 might be able to come back, but unfortunately for them they couldn't make it work, and in this case then Bob just saying like, alright, we got this. They get the last Dragon Knight and they can move in and end the game. Our second map is going to be Garden of Terror. And on Garden of Terror, Bob suddenly switched their strategy completely and went into an Illidan composition with an Uther and also an Abathur. They have a really good setup for him. One of the things that actually surprised me a bit is that Gamers2 did not go into the Anubarak to try and counteract the Divine Shield on Uther by just simply web blasting him, but instead they went on their last picks into an Arthur's. Per se not a bad hero against Illidan, but just the Anubarak seems to be the better choice if Illidan is being supported by a Divine Shield hero like Uther. And also they picked Sylvanas, which is a counter that we don't see a lot anymore. It's mainly Team Liquid that still play it against an Illidan, but from the old days, like a few weeks back when we saw Sylvanas being picked every single time and Illidan was in the game, we are already far away from that, since these days Sylvanas actually doesn't see a lot of play, unfortunately. Still, Gamers2 of course, they have to win 2 now. They have to win 2 games to stay in the tournament and reach the finals, and well, they have to start here in Garden of Terror, so let's find out together if they can do that.
Alright everybody, game number 2, we are on. We have Gamers2 versus Bob. Second edition, if you so want. Game number 2 here on Garden of Terror. And to the left side again, the Polish team with Nika on Sylvanas, Baszek on Khaldor, Shichu on Leoric, Leo from Korea on Malfurion, and Juve on Arthurs instead of Anubarak. We have to the right side of the map Bakery on Uther, Snitch on Illidan, Athero Angel on Johanna, ADRD on Abathur, and Zarmany on Zagara. And you might have asked yourself, why exactly did I say instead of Anubarak? Well, I expected Anubarak as their last tank pick because we have an Illidan Uther Abathur composition for Bob, and that is quite strong. A counter against that is an Anubarak, and why? Because he has a Web Blast. So what you try to do is once that Illidan jumps in, you simply Web Blast Uther, take the Divine Shield away from Illidan, and then you have an opportunity to take him down. In general, Arthas isn't really bad against Illidan because he has that Frozen Tempest and can slow him down a bit. You have a Howling Blast to lock him in place, and you have very good damage talents against a single target with Frostburn feats on level 16 that you can use for double Frostburn. Frostburn itself can of course then with level 4 talent have additional power, so that's quite good if you want to lock somebody down. But still, that Anubarak is super solid when it just comes to the question of does Illidan have the support that he needs in those fights. And that's one of the reasons why, wow, Uther already taken out. Everybody is super low down here, but it doesn't matter. The kill is in play regardless. It's a good kill. A slight advantage in experience now because of it, but not too much. But yeah, I really want to see how exactly that that Illidan composition is gonna play out for them right now, because this is going to be. And this is going to be a cool game, either way. I mean, it doesn't really matter who's going to win here, but if you have an Illidan with such a composition and a team that really feels they don't even need to go into an Anubarak with Web Blast against it, then you are already guaranteed quite a bit of fun. So we're seeing, besides that, when it comes to talents, we already have the With the Wind talent taken here for Sylvanas. She's, of course, a counter that Gamers2 is going to try and use against Illidan. The big deal is that you have to wait with your Wailing Arrow until your opponent is using his Metamorphosis. If you don't do that, like if, for example, Sylvanas says like, hey, there's an Illidan, okay, I'm going to use my Wailing Arrow now. Illidan is always going to wait for that, and when he sees the Wailing Arrow coming in, he's just going to use his Metamorphosis, dodges the Wailing Arrow, and then your heroic ability didn't do anything. The whole idea of silence on Sylvanas is to make sure that Illidan has just no chance to use his abilities, because especially that evasive shield is one of the things that he depends on just so much. It's one of the reasons why some Illidan players like LoL for Fnatic went on level 7 away from First Aid but into Thrill of Battle, because they want to have the added cooldown reduction so that they can use the evasive shield more often. That's how important it is for you. Now with the level 4 talents, we have Fealty onto Death taken here on level 4. Frozen Wastes. So the mana cost reduction instead of the damage. Okay, that's getting more and more interesting here now. I expect the Destruction taken so that he can push more damage onto Illidan. But nope, it is instead the mana reduction. So he wants to have that active during all of those fights, I suppose. Level 5 for both of the teams now. And Bob to the right side. They've won one game already. So in this case, if they actually have a situation where they... This is one of those situations where they actually could just say, like, if we take this map, we can YOLO a little bit here, we can play risky, because even if we lose, then we are still in play. And we're seeing Abathur at the bot lane right now. They're both fighting for the seats up here. Up to the top, there's still Leoric. Uh-oh. Yeah, well, Juve has to be super careful on his Arthurs. He's very much alone here. Nice gravity lapse, but Arthur's dying regardless. The Thera Angel was there, Malfurion is dead, and Illidan is jumping in. You are not prepared. Takes down Arthurs, takes down Malfurion, and Khaldor just barely got out of there. So yeah, so far so good. It's also, we don't have reach taken on Uther. And on this map, it's still okay to go into Conjurer's Pursuit. I mean, there's like 3 lanes, you can get a lot of those globes. And especially when you're, of course, going for one of the big terrors, the globes that are being dropped by the terror, they also count for the Conjurer's Pursuit, so that's important. It's actually really important. And yeah, in other cases, with the melee assassin, you oftentimes see the teams instead going for reach, because once that Illidan jumps in, that healer has to just sprint to his rescue. It's always the same. If there's like not really good coordination between the teammates, then Illidan just jumps in and dives deep, and then Uther is always like, dude, wait for me. I need to jump in there and give you the heal that you need. But yeah, reach helps out with that, but as long as you are not too greedy, you're all good even without it. So, Unstable Poison taken on 7. We have Enduring Growth. Leoric actually up here has been taken out. Massive amount of seeds that we are seeing on the side of Bob, by the way. They dominated the objectives in the last map, and they're currently doing the exact same thing on this one. But the bot lane... Oh, a Mule even taken by Abathur. I like it. So, instead of going into Needle Spines, he went into Mule, and that helps them for now. Nika already moving away here. We have Juve and Leo in position. And rapid incubation for Zagara. We are seeing Illidan not going for that thrill of battle variation that Lowell loves so much, but instead goes for the standard with the first 8 here. So a bit of self-sustain. And talking self-sustain, we have, besides Fealty onto Death, now also the Renewal that has been taken here. The bot lane still with a bit of a scrimmage there, so we have the teams just trying to move into take down that fort, but with a Mule it's actually well defended. So the first plant is going to go into the mid lane. That opens up space at the bot lane. Zarmini can just simply stay there with Bakery and Snitch supporting him and drop these structures. So a very solid position here early on already for Bob. Up at the top lane, they're of course going up against Shiku, and he's just doing his solo thing, which so many Leoric players do now. But the bot lane is pushed heavily. Not only the bot lane structures, it's also the heroes. Juve is eating a lot of damage here, gets healed by Malfurion. And the top lane, that's where we're seeing ADRD moving in. So he's the one that Shiku has to deal with now. There's already the pot and a good polymorph seed. Nice attempt, I like that. Using the Wraith Walk to just counterplay that. And that's cool. I haven't really seen that. I mean, it makes sense. You see it and you're like, oh yeah, of course, you can do that. But I haven't really seen it yet, so that's kind of smart. So no zoning for you today, dear Mr. Garden Terror. Level 10 still will hit faster for Team Bob. So they have the 10s, and that means Metamorphosis. We're having the ultimate evolution. On this map, actually, Fnatic, for example, uses Monstrosity, and I prefer that a bit. Illidan needs the support, and if you go for an Illidan copy, yes, you have 2 heroes that can jump the backline. That is super annoying. But at the same time, you have no opportunity to support Illidan with a symbiote. So if the opponent bursts down the real Illidan first, then you are in a bit of trouble. Tranquility being used. Illidan with Metamorphosis. They go deep and they kill Malfurion. They get the Malf kill, and now they're jumping in to take down the next target. And Arthas is now dead too. 5 kills against 1. They crush through the wall, take it. Up at the top lane, Leoric is trying to do the same against this keep or fort. But we have Abathur pushing him back already. Very well played here by Bob. They have a solid leading experience now. Wailing Arrow, Phoenix, March of the Black King, Tranquility, and Army of the Dead have all been used already. And yep, there we have the tower now falling as well. But that Illidan Abathur problem that I talked about, that's a bit of a thing that you can really talk to like Na'Vi, you can talk to Fnatic, and most teams have different opinions on that. But it is just a problem. If you want to support Illidan in a fight, then it's better to go for Monstrosity. And again, imagine a fight at the top lane here with a 5 versus 5, right? And Abathur just simply drops a Monstrosity at the bot lane, jumps back into the fight with a Symbiote, helps out, the Monstrosity pushes the bot lane, and once that the fight is over, you can actually just use Symbiote on the Monstrosity and push it even further. And the level 20 talent on the Monstrosity is extremely popular right now. But then again, there is a lot of teams that prefer to just simply go for the double Illidan because he's such a disruptive force, and if you have 2 of them, you can push the back lane very hard, put pressure on a Sylvanas, on a Kel'Thas, zone them out, make sure that they don't get the damage. So the jury is definitely still out on this one. But the teams are playing with both, and it's super interesting to just see that. For now, we're having up at the top here, level 13 hitting first for Bob. It's just seed time again. So both of the teams are going for the seeds, and I have to say that this time it looks like we are seeing at least a slight lead on the side of Team Gamers2. It's still a bit of a grudge match here. I mean, like AD already being kicked from the team, he wasn't really too happy about that. I mean, nobody would be. So we have now on level 7, 6 stands has been taken. We have Shrink Ray. There's of course also still Leoric up at the top, who's currently trying to steal a few of the seeds away. He's actually doing a great job of that. Steals quite a few seeds. There's the stun, but Leoric dies and pays with his life. Couldn't really prevent Bob from taking a plant on their own, but the bot lane has now been completely pushed in, and that's the problem when you leave a Sylvanas alone for a second. That Black Arrow trade is just way too good. So yeah, that said, up at the top, Snitch against Chiku, and Chiku is again back to life. Leoric with that Ghost Form, it's cool, like it's really cool. I like that unique aspect that Leoric has himself. He has a pretty cool kit, and now we have level 13s also for Gamers2. With a Flamethrower, additional damage on the Burning Rage. Snitch, by the way, has to move back after all. The Evasive Fire has also been taken in this case on the side of Sylvanas, and we're having another Frozen Tempest talent taken for Arthas. In this case, it's Biting Cold with increased damage, so as long as he can keep close to Illidan, it's going to be really good for them. And, well, yeah, for now we have the plants reigning supreme again. It's plant time! And at the bot lane there is one camp pushing in, and that is of course where we have the first pot dropped for ADRD and Bob. They are moving into the mid lane now, and up the top it's still Illidan against Chiku. Chiku has his Drain Hope though, and he's using that several times right now. Oh, they go straight for Malfurion again, but there is no Illidan this time. Howling Blast is missing though, and ADRD is just moving over. Could even put some pressure on the keep here, but he doesn't do that. He just drops the pot and moves back into the fight. We have Illidan still doing his thing up at the top, and maybe even Abathur helping him out. Not quite sure just yet, but yeah, Snitch moving away. Just making sure that Abathur, that Leoric doesn't get that. You know, that split push that especially Na'Vi is exploiting so much on Tomb of the Spider Queen and Dragonshire. You can do that on Garden of Terror as well, and that's what they're currently attempting. Level 15 versus level 14, the solid 1 level lead that we're seeing, and they move into the mid lane, and now it is also time for Illidan to reign supreme. With the Metamorphosis, he jumps in and goes straight for the kill, trying to drop Arthas, but Arthas is still alive, gets condemned though. Ooh, Snitch is so low. The kill against Arthas, they get it off, but here comes Chiku with an attempt to drop at least Johanna. Snitch on the other hand is now extremely healed up again. Well, not extremely, but he's at 30%, so you can actually try and go in once more. Doesn't have to really do that now, though. And with the level 16 talents, it's going to be a much easier time for him in those fights anyways, because of Blood for Blood. Soma Transference and Envenomed Spines, by the way, those things are going to help a lot. Especially as we're also seeing the Holy Renewal. So there's a lot of sustain that we have. First of all, we have the Soma Transference, so Abathur in general is going to help out with the Symbiote. Then we have Blood for Blood, Benediction for the double heal, and with the Holy Renewal, both of these frontliners, or both of the melee heroes that we see, disregarding Uther for a second, have a lot more self-sustain. So that's going to be quite important for them, especially as the next night is going to fall now. And Gamers2, I mean, they don't really get a lot of kills. You can see it yourself. 7 kills against 1. The team fight's not really going in their favor, but they still look quite solid when it comes to experience. They lag behind, but they have a bit more seeds, so they could use that. As long as they actually take down a few of the structures, they're going to be fine. And they're already deep pushing the lanes here, setting themselves up to take the seeds at the bot lane. But the team fights are going to be important, and so far Illidan is doing a great job here. They go for Leoric again, and the Wraith, no, March of the Black King first, heals him up a bit. He does not have the Wraith Walk available, and therefore goes down once more. They take the 4 top, but now we have level 16 ready for Team Gamers2. And this, oh, Khaldor actually has been taken out. Okay, that's a problem. Khaldor's dying here, that's an issue, because that means that they don't have the ignite now, and they really need that. But they will get a plant. They have the seats at the bot lane, they take the plant, we have an imposing presence on Leoric, gonna make it a bit more difficult for Illidan to really just rock through everything. There is a tenacious roots now on Malfurion that could help them to lock him down too, and once they get rid of the melee assassin, they're gonna be in a decent spot. But we have also the stone skill. So yeah, things are gonna get very interesting here with the level 16 talents for both of the teams. As long as they get the entire plant up at the top, they should actually just barely... Actually, thinking about it, I think they might be in 94 seats, right? Yeah, they should be at 94. Nope, 104. Alright, they have 104. Okay, so just barely getting that plant in. Plant for a plant. Khaldor was not able to steal enough to deny it to them. Barshek paid with his life for it, but yeah, 10 seats were still... like, let's say 5 seats. That's what he still needed to get, and unfortunately for him, he didn't get that. 9 kills against 1, and, well, Gamers2, they need to really make some moves now, because if they lose this game, then it is over for them in this tournament. They will drop out, and there we have Juve, Leo, and Barshek in position again. Currently looking up at the top. Actually, Aethero Angel is splitting up from the rest of the team once more. They're really just trying to get the experience for level 20, and they are not afraid to split on 3 lanes. Snitch down here will try to occupy them for as long as possible. He's actually trying to get that camp out of the way, but the problem is that there are 4 heroes with the camp, so they are protecting it as much as they can. Then again, Shiku is also running into 4 heroes, and he's already rushing away since he realizes, well, scratch that, I can't move into the mid lane now. There are way too many of them, and that is not gonna happen, so he's losing a lot of hit points. But rotation, Arthur's a double Zagara for the double damage here, and here comes Phoenix and Flame Strike. The copy on Zagara is already gone, but that makes Illidan so much stronger. Illidan is in position, or is he? Nope, not quite, and that's just moving in, getting the kills in. Zarmany about to die on Zagara, but they already have Khaldor and Malfurion. There goes Sylvanas now as well. They don't get a kill here anymore. We have Shiku just doing his thing. I mean, he himself can just drop one after another, maybe with a few hits, but the problem is after Zagara there was just nothing that they could do anymore. Snitch, Bakery, and Aethero Angel, they still did their thing. Illidan, I guess, like really was able to get a lot of damage in, but not as Illidan. It was just like the plan that he used for it. But it's a quad kill. It's a quad kill, and they are now moving in once again against the mid lane. The keep about to fall. Well, it's definitely gonna fall. There's still even a few seconds left, or what? There were a few seconds left on the plan. March of the Black King actually with a really good position here, but the problem for Shiku still is that he's the only one there. In comes Barshek, could maybe land one of those flame strikes, but I think it's a bit too late for that already. So yeah, Abathur is even soaking more experience. The level 20 talents are of course now important with Demonic Form, Hive Mind taken, Redemption on... yeah, well, Snitch, you're maybe a little bit far out there. They are back to business, and they already know he's here. Okay, gets away there. Yeah, activates the shield and is able to rush away, but that could have been a problem. Bakery is helping him out, or will help him out with the heal, and there it is. But now we have also Indestructible taken, and they need to go for level 20. Gamers2, of course, that is. Gamers2 really need to reach that level, and they already lost the keep, and that is really the advantage that you have to push. In Heroes of the Storm, it's just so important that once you are ahead, that you really push that advantage, and especially when you're close to level 20 for both of the teams, then you need to make sure that you drop keeps, because the entire advantage that you have in the early or mid-game is completely negated once that both teams are on level 20. The stat advantage is nice, but it's just not enough to give you a big edge in the fight. So you want to make sure that you have a strategical component on the map, and that means dropping keep so that the lanes of your opponents are being pushed in. Or killing a hero early. More already used. Snitch is going to jump into the back line, and there he is, going straight for a potential kill. 80 already on his Illidan. Illidan is doing so much damage right now. The Wailing Arrow doesn't hit anything, and the attempt to take down Illidan completely fails. Illidan is spanking Gamers2 right now. They won't be able to sit for a week. This is exactly what we've been talking about earlier. Illidan with the support of a Divine Shield, and also the Abathur is just too strong. I still stick with my opinion that an Anubarak with a Web Blast would have been better here than an Arthur's. They move into the middle. They take down the core. This is going to be game, ladies and gentlemen. Bob without any problems whatsoever. 18 kills against 2. They win on Garden of Terror against Gamers2. They win the series with a 2-0 and move now into the finals of the ZOTAC Cup monthly final.
Illidan is too strong, and Gamers2, they crash and burn. Very good play by Bob here. That Illidan composition that they were drafting, just doing so much damage, so much work, and especially, of course, in those team fights, Illidan just jumping in, and he can do whatever he wants. He gets the Divine Shield and is safe. So great play here on the side of Bob. Gamers2, unfortunately for them, will not reach the finals. They don't take a map against Bob, and therefore it's a 2-0 victory for Bob. Gamers2 eliminated from the tournament, and we are going to see the final coming up next. Before that happens, I have another semi-final I'm going to upload soon for you guys, and I hope that you enjoyed this series as well. Great play from both of the teams, but Bob today just a bit stronger. If you did like this series, make sure that you give the video a thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe to Khaldor TV if you haven't done it yet, and I'm going to see you guys soon for more video content here on YouTube.